Good evening and welcome to NewsNight. Coming to you live from Point Park University, tonight we'll have all your international, national, and local news. I'm Brendan McNamara.
And I'm Colleen Winder. After last week's earthquakes in Turkey, the president is coming under fire for his policies that may have worsened devastation.
Plus, more unidentified objects have been shot down in U.S. airspace, bringing up questions about their origin. Could this be another spy tactic from China?
All this and more coming up on NewsNight.
In the lead-up to the one-year anniversary of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, Russia appears to be starting a new offensive in the eastern Donbass region. Last week, Moscow's forces renewed their attacks on the city of Bakhmut, while also unleashing a wave of attacks against Ukrainian civilian infrastructure in Kharkiv and Zaporizhia. Ukrainian and Western officials had been expecting this new Russian offensive in the days and weeks leading up to February 24th, since Moscow has such an affection for military symbols and anniversaries. The scope of Russia's new plans remains unclear, however it comes at a difficult time for Kyiv. While the country's Western allies have sent billions of dollars worth of weapons, the latest aid package, which includes tanks, is not expected to reach Ukraine for several months, which could potentially hamper its ability to mount a counteroffensive. Despite this, Ukrainian officials say that they are prepared for anything, even though Russia has the advantage of manpower after it conscripted hundreds of thousands of men. Yuri Sak, an advisor to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, said, quote, "Russia needs something to show for the war. During the last 6 months, the only thing they were able to gain control of are the ruins of the city of Soledar, which is a village," end quote. Sak expects Russia to try to take full control over the Donetsk and Luhansk oblasts. He said that Ukraine will do, quote, "everything possible and impossible," end quote, to ensure Russia's defeat. Western analysts doubt that Russia will give up on its goal to fully occupy part of Ukraine from the east to the south coast, which includes Luhansk, Donetsk, Zaporizhia, and Kherson. Russia claims to have annexed these 4 regions, even though they do not fully control them. The Kremlin wants to establish a land bridge from Russia to the Crimean Peninsula, which was taken from Ukraine in 2014. Over the weekend, however, Ukrainian officials say that Russia is already having difficulty mounting this new offensive. Since last week's earthquakes in the Middle East, the death toll has been rising and aid has been flowing into the region. Reporter Alex Zahnizer has the latest on the recovery efforts. Alex?
A 7.8 magnitude earthquake hit southeastern Turkey on Monday the 6th. The result of this is over 40,000 people reported dead. The initial quake was centered in the town of Pazarsik in Turkey's southeastern Kahramanmaraş province. This was followed by many powerful aftershocks. More people have died from this than the number of people who died in the 2011 earthquake and tsunami in Japan's northeastern Tohoku region, which also caused the nuclear accident in Fukushima. At least 121 Turkish citizens have been rescued from the rubble, as reported by Turkish Vice President Fuat Oktay. The United States Agency for International Development is currently providing $85 million in, quote, urgent humanitarian assistance, end quote, for food, shelter, and other necessities. Structural damage from the earthquakes is raising questions about the policies of Turkey's president. Here's Colleen Winder with more.
As the region recovers from this disaster, focus is turning to Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, who was seen gloating about letting contractors skip safety regulations that were earthquake-specific in 2019. The housing structures have skipped these safety regulations as zoning amnesties are the same buildings in Kahramanmaraş that have crumbled and taken lives in this devastating earthquake. Political opponents and the country's Association of Engineers have weighed in with their opinions, with Erdogan for using these dangerous amnesties for political gain. While in Syria, rescue and relief efforts have faced complications due to their ongoing civil war. as hospitals and refugee facilities are already pushed to the brink. A humanitarian group of citizens deemed the White Helmets have deployed thousands of volunteers to help those in rebel-occupied areas of northwestern Syria. The country is divided in rebel and Syrian regime territories, making rescue efforts harder to coordinate, especially in areas that are already war-torn. While the White Helmets and other organizations work tirelessly, accounts from volunteers remain bleak as fewer survivors are being found. If you're interested in donating to the relief efforts, consider visiting Syrian American Medical Society, Turkish Red Crescent, the White Helmets, and more online.
In Montreal last Wednesday, a city bus crashed into a daycare center, leaving 2 children killed and 6 injured. Pierre Saint-Amand, the 51-year-old bus driver, has been arrested and charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder, 2 counts of aggravated assault, and 1 count of attempted murder, as well as several counts of assault with a deadly weapon. Saint-Amand had no previous criminal record. It has been stated by eyewitness Hamdi Ben Chabban that the driver stepped out of the bus after the crash, ripped his clothing off, and started screaming. Ben Chabban helped save 1 child from the daycare center and attempted to save a second. However, he was then ordered to leave due to unsafe conditions. Regarding what he witnessed, Ben Chabban said, quote, "It was a nightmare. I can't believe it. It was horrible," end quote. The motive for the crime is still unknown. The injuries that the 6 children have suffered are not life-threatening. Turning now to London, where the Church of England recently loosened its policy on same-sex marriage. Reporter Aaron Ute has the details. Aaron?
The Church of England's National Assembly on last Thursday voted to let priests bless same-sex marriages and civil partnerships, while continuing to ban church weddings for the same-sex couples. Bishops proposed the compromise measure after 5 years of discussions about the Church's position on sexuality. It was approved by the Church's General Synod, which is made up of bishops, clergy, and laypeople from around the country, following the 8 hours of debate over 2 days at the meeting in London. The measure included an apology for the Church's failure to welcome the LGBTQIA+ people, but it also endorsed the doctrine that marriage is between 1 man and 1 woman, meaning priests are still barred from marrying same-sex couples. Same-sex marriage has been legal in England and Wales since 2013, but the Church didn't alter its teaching on marriage when the law changed. Public opinion surveys consistently show that a majority of people in England support same-sex marriage, but the Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, said the Church continues to have, quote, deep divisions on the issue. The measure approved Thursday endorses a proposal from the Church's bishops to allow clergy to bless the unions of same-sex couples after they marry or have a partnership recognized by civil authorities. But clergy members won't be required to perform such blessings if they disagree with them. The blessings are expected to begin later this year after the bishops refine their guidance and issue prayers for the clergy to use.
New Zealand authorities found around 3.5 tons of cocaine floating in the ocean last Thursday. This drug bust is one of the country's biggest ever. The shipment was split into 81 bales, weighing approximately 3.2 metric tons. Smugglers left the cocaine at a floating drop point in the Pacific Ocean. The cocaine's value is estimated to be around $318 million. A limited amount of information has been released to the public regarding the discovery of the drugs. It is believed that this is the work of an international crime syndicate. In a report from 9 News, an affiliate of CNN, Police Commissioner Andrew Cozier said, quote, "We believe there is enough cocaine to serve the Australian market for about 1 year, and this would be more than New Zealand would use in 30 years, end quote. The drugs were collected by a Navy ship, and police say they are set to be destroyed. Coming up, John Fetterman was hospitalized over the weekend. Did the senator show signs of a second stroke? We'll have the latest on Monday night's shooting at Michigan State University. We'll be right back.
Regular physical activity is one of the most important things you can do for your health. The benefits of physical activity include brain health, weight management, reducing disease, strengthening your bones and muscles, and improving your ability to do everyday activities. So, it's time to get up and be active.
can talk to me if you're feeling sad.
Thanks for hearing me out, bro.
Whenever you need to talk, I'm here, okay?
During a press conference that Ohio State officials were holding about a massive train derailment, a reporter from NewsNation was arrested while he was delivering a live report. Body camera footage of the incident, which was released Thursday by the Ohio State Highway Patrol, shows the confrontation between NewsNation correspondent Evan Lambert and law enforcement during last Wednesday's press conference. Lambert was asked to stop his broadcast because he was being too loud while Ohio Governor Mike DeWine was speaking. The video begins with no audio and shows Ohio National Guard's Adjutant General, Major General John Harris, talking to Lambert's videographer. A state trooper then signaled to Lambert to stop speaking. Lambert then ends his report and turns to Harris while the camera pivots for a few seconds. When it turns back to Lambert and Harris, they appear to be arguing, but there is still no sound. Harris then pushes Lambert away, and police claim that Harris told them that he pushed Lambert because the reporter was acting, quote, in an aggressive manner, and Harris, quote, felt threatened. The audio then comes in while the trooper is trying to get Harris to stop interacting with Lambert. Lambert said, quote, I'm allowed to be here, as police grab his arms and try to escort him out. Sheriff Brian McLaughlin said to Lambert, quote, you were told to shut it down. You continued to argue. Go to jail now, or you can go to jail, end quote. Mr. Lambert was repeatedly asked to leave the gymnasium while another person tries to get him to talk outside. Lambert then says, quote, I'm going to listen to the news conference because it's my job. But then officers block him from doing so. Two officers then grab Lambert and drag him into the entryway where a struggle ensues as they push him to the ground and cuff him. Evan Lambert was released later that night after posting bail and will be in court on February 23rd. NewsNation has released a statement saying, quote, Evan handled this unfortunate situation with true professionalism, and we appreciate his commitment as a journalist whose goal is to report stories that are fair and unbiased, end quote. After his release, Lambert said that he was just trying to do his job. Reporters asked Governor DeWine about the arrest when the conference was over, and he responded, quote, that person had a right to be reporting. They should have been allowed to report. If they were in any way hampered from reporting, that certainly is wrong, and it is not something that I approve of. In fact, I vehemently disapprove of it.
3 new objects have been shot down by the U.S. military and the North American Aerospace Defense Command. This past weekend on Friday, a small object was downed by the U.S. fighter jets over the sea near Dead Horse, Alaska. The object was the size of a car, flying overhead at 40,000 feet on Saturday. Another smaller cylindrical object was shot down near Canada's Yukon Territory at around the same height. And on Sunday, a third octagonal object with strings was downed at around 20,000 feet over Lake Huron, Michigan. So far, the objects are not attributed to China or the Chinese spy balloon found in late January. The recovery teams are continuing to collect and examine the contents scattered across the respective bodies of water. The former head of the Pentagon's UFO program, Luis Elizondo, alludes to the object as low-technology harassments from China to build paranoia. And because of this stunts, radar systems in North America are becoming more sensitive to slow-moving objects for easier detection. However, this won't be the last time seeing these devices, as the production of these balloon-like objects are becoming more apparent in other militaries for similar surveillance and stratospheric communication purposes. A month after being sworn in, Senator John Fetterman had a health scare that landed him in the hospital for several days. Here's reporter Aaron Ute with the latest.
Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman, who had a stroke during his campaign last year, has been hospitalized after feeling lightheaded while attending a Democratic retreat, his office said. Initial tests at George Washington University Hospital did not show evidence of a new stroke, Fetterman's communications director Joe Calevo said in a statement last Wednesday night. The senator remained at the hospital for observation as doctors conducted more tests. Cal Vallejo said, quote, he is in good spirits and talking with his staff and family. We will provide more information when we have it, end quote. In November, Fetterman, 53, won the seat held by now retired Republican Pat Toomey after a hard-fought contest against GOP nominee Mehmet Oz. Fetterman, who was the lieutenant governor, defeated the celebrity heart surgeon by 5 percentage points, flipping a seat that was key to Democrats holding the Senate majority. More than $300 million was spent during the campaign, making it the most expensive Senate race in 2022. His campaign was derailed on May 13th when he had later a near fatal stroke, just days before the Democratic primary. As a result of the stroke, Fetterman has struggled with auditory processing disorder, a common after effect that can leave a person unable to speak fluidly and quickly process spoken conversation into meeting. Fetterman was able to return to the Senate on Monday.
On Monday night, a mass shooting left 3 dead and 5 others critically injured at Michigan State University, according to CNN. University police confirmed all victims were students. The gunman opened fire Monday evening at 2 campus locations, turning the 50,000 student campus into a crime scene. Students were advised to run and hide as hundreds of officers in tactical gear swarmed the campus. The gunman was identified as 43-year-old Anthony Dwayne McCrae. McCrae died of an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound. MSU Interim Deputy Police Chief Chris Rosman told CNN that McCrae was not affiliated with the university. Rosman said, quote, "We have no idea why he came to campus to do this tonight," end quote. The gunman has a previous 2019 charge and arrest for carrying a concealed weapon without a permit. The 5 wounded remain in critical condition, and police have not given any names or ages. This attack comes hours before the 5-year anniversary of the mass shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. This marks the 67th mass shooting in 2023, according to data from the Gun Violence Archive. Michigan is still dealing with the November 2021 mass shooting at Oxford High School that left 4 dead and 6 injured. According to U.S. Representative Alyssa Slotkin in a news conference, there are children in Michigan who are now living through their second school shooting in under a year and a half. Slotkin said, quote, "If this is not a wake-up call to do something, I don't know what is," end quote. The investigation is ongoing.
The USDA Forest Service's annual aerial detection survey reveals that 36.3 million trees have died in California in 2022 alone. This is comparable to their 2021 results, which stood at 9.5 million. Throughout the year, California has experienced an array of environmental ailments, like prolonged drought, low water levels, high temperatures, insect and disease outbreaks, and cramped forest spacage, which is a result of human-induced climate change. Rehabilitation looks bleak as the Forest Service also stated that, quote, "Even with the recent storms from atmospheric rivers, increased tree mortality should be expected in forests until precipitation returns to normal or above normal for the few years," end quote. However, Forest Service has developed a decade-long strategy to address these concerns with a joint coalition with the California Natural Resources Agency and the CAL FIRE Fund Forest Health Projects, prescribed burns, pest management, and more to stop the rising number of tree mortality. Music fans are mourning the loss of the industry giant. Reporter Alex Zonheiser has more.
Burt Bacharach, composer of songs such as Walk On By, Do You Know the Way to San Jose, I Say a Little Prayer, and dozens of other hits, has died at the age of 94. He passed away in his home in Los Angeles on Wednesday the 8th of natural causes. Bacharach's music was very popular from the 1950s into the 21st century, being heard everywhere. His songs were covered by several people, including Dionne Warwick, Aretha Franklin, Dusty Springfield, Tom Jones, Elvis Presley, the Beatles, and Frank Sinatra. He was an 8-time Grammy winner and a 3-time Oscar winner. He was even presented the Gershwin Prize by Barack Obama. He continued to work later in his life, vowing to never retire. In 2018, he said to the AP, quote, "Music softens the heart, makes you feel something if it's good, brings in emotion that you might not have felt before. It's a very powerful thing if you're able to do it, if you have it in your heart to do something like that," end quote.
A teacher in Oakland County, Michigan, is arrested and charged with making an intentional threat to commit acts of violence against a school, school employees, and/or students. On February 2nd, Paul Jacobs, a social studies teacher at Hazel Park Junior High, found a written note that contained threats of blowing up the school. Instead of reporting the note to authorities, he left the note to be found by another staff member. The authorities were then called and dispatched canine units who found no explosive materials. While there is not enough evidence to conclude that Jacobs himself wrote the note, video footage shows his negligence in the situation. Amy Krupp, the district superintendent, released a statement that said, quote, "The safety of students and staff is the #1 priority. Hazel Park Schools, the Hazel Park Police Department, and the City of Hazel Park will not tolerate threats or hoaxes related to campus safety under any circumstance," end quote. As of now, Jacobs is no longer employed in the district and has an upcoming court hearing on February 28th. Popular fast food chain Chick-fil-A has announced that a new menu item that may make the drive-thru line even longer. Here's NewsNight reporter Devin Amee with more on the meal and a love story 78 years in the making. Devin?
In more lighthearted news, as of February 13th, Chick-fil-A will be testing out its new plant-based sandwich in select locations. According to the company, quote, "The sandwich is made with a tender filet cut from a whole, real cauliflower and embraces the plant-forward style that places vegetables at the center of the entree. The preparation is similar to the original Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich. It is marinated, breaded with signature seasoning, pressure cooked, and served on a toasted buttery bun with 2 dill pickle chips," end quote. The testing of the sandwich as of now is only at select locations, including Denver, Colorado, Charleston, South Carolina, and the Greensboro Triad region in North Carolina. Whether you're looking to add more vegetables into your life or stick to a plant-based diet, this new addition to Chick-fil-A's menu has been in the works for close to 4 years and will hopefully be coming to more than just 3 menus with time. In other news, the long-lost letters of a World War II veteran were returned 30 years after their discovery. Dottie Kearney and her husband were fixing up a home that they bought in 1990. As they began to renovate and knock out the walls of the home, they discovered old letters written by a World War II soldier named Claude Smith, dedicated to his wife, Marie. It took many years for Kearney to figure out what to do with the letters, reading them from time to time. Finally, recently, after coming across a TikToker, Chelsea Brown, the heirloom investigator, Kearney reached out to solve this mystery and hopefully return the letters to their rightful owner. Brown agreed to help Kearney find the family, and with time, return the letters to the daughter of the Smiths. Carol Boleyn, the rightful heir to receive the letters and daughter of Claude and Marie, was grateful to be given this piece of history and see a part of her parents' lives that hadn't been seen before. The website that helped Brown find Boleyn posted photos of Carol when she finally received the letters, which, according to UPI, can be found on myheritage.com.
After the break, we'll have your local news. After a fire burned through Elizabeth Forward High School, the community is working to recover from the loss. Plus, a proposed bill in the PA State House is looking to help schools change their mascots. We'll be right back.
Feel the beat of nature at a park or forest near you. Find a forest and music inspired by nature at discovertheforest.org.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back.
Welcome back.
Welcome back to
Daybreak.
Chicken Guy opened in PPG Place on Monday.
The bridge would open before the 1-year marks to check out the 20th annual gingerbread display.
Share with you this week's Ray of Sunshine.
We are still somehow hanging around in the playoff.
It gives Georgia Democrats some hold onto the governing body.
200,000 people still in harm's way.
This weather is perfect for those cozy nights indoors.
Hey!
I'm an actor in an ad that was given 12 seconds to remind you that if you're high, just don't drive. Because if you feel different, you drive different. It's illegal to drive high everywhere anyway.
Welcome back. The massive cracker plant in Beaver County experienced an issue that led to flaring, according to Shell, which owns the plant. The company posted to Facebook saying that flares, quote, enable a safe response to malfunctioning equipment. Shell said it expected to continue flaring throughout Tuesday night and that it notified all appropriate regulatory agencies, saying, quote, we apologize for any inconveniences and are working diligently to minimize the duration of flaring. The safety of our workers, the community, and environment are top priorities for Shell Polymers Monaca.
Uber and Lyft drivers were on strike in Pittsburgh this weekend over high demands and low pay. Drivers have taken the brunt of rising costs of gas, which becomes challenging as they frequently fill their tanks while maintaining and mending their vehicle. They also pay for their own safety precautions such as dash cams and endure frequent name scams that make them feel unsafe. The strike, which lasted from Friday afternoon to Sunday afternoon, targets the change in how drivers earn fees within the company and their safety. While drivers were previously paid based on journey calculations, they are now paid upfront per ride. This not only shows inaccuracies based on comparable earnings per driver, but is estimated to be 25% less than their previous payment system. While both Lyft and Uber have disputed their payment inquiries and claim they now prioritize safety with their new features, drivers in Pittsburgh are planning to strike again this spring for a larger cut and a requirement for all riders to register with their name that matches their ID.
2 people were taken to the hospital and hundreds of employees were sent home after several suspicious packages arrived at the Washington County Courthouse. The courthouse was evacuated on Thursday after the FBI said 5 judges and 1 county employee received suspicious packages. 2 more packages were found addressed to a former county employee. According to the FBI, the packages didn't actually contain any hazardous materials or powder, though the investigation is still ongoing. There isn't believed to be any threat to the public safety at this time. A courtroom administrator opened the first package addressed to a judge and deemed it suspicious. Out of an abundance of caution, that worker went to a hospital for treatment, and a judge also drove himself to a hospital. The buildings on the campus were searched, and about 900 employees were sent home for the day. There was a return address on the packages. However, officials declined to give more details.
On Sunday morning, a 4-alarm fire tore through Elizabeth Ford High School's auditorium. According to WTAE, no one was injured, but smoke and flames could be seen pouring from the roof for hours as crews from around the area battled the fire. A letter from the school district went out saying classes at the high school were canceled for Monday, February 13th. Virtual learning began yesterday, and the district hopes to better understand long-term plans soon. It is still unclear how the fire started. The fire marshal is still investigating and says there is nothing to indicate suspicious actions at this point. Kenneth Cognac, district superintendent, told WTAE, quote, it breaks our heart as a community and also as a district, end quote. The damage to the auditorium affects the school's production of The Hunchback of Notre Dame, set for later next month. Musical director James Benedict explained to WTAE, quote, we had just finished blocking our final scene, the finale, but we will have to start over with the set, costumes, props. It will all be from the ground up again, end quote. The community has since come together to show support for the district and its students. A GoFundMe has been created by the owners of a local dance studio, Trebella's Dance Academy. The studio is also opening up their space to students to rehearse and going forward. A second GoFundMe was also created to help with the musical NAD theater department. The fundraisers have raised over $16,000. Nearby school districts have reached out to support Elizabeth Ford as South Allegheny opened up its buildings and gym. The Elizabeth Ford High School band was planning to trip to Florida this week. Many schools and music programs, including South Allegheny and the Bethel Park Music Boosters program, are working on collecting donated instruments for Elizabeth Ford students.
A brand new adult-only mini-golf facility will be opening on February 17th in the Strip District. Called Puttery Pittsburgh, it will feature 3 different 9-hole mini-golf courses. Each course will have a different theme. One is themed after a vintage garage, the other 2 are themed after a Rocky Mountain ski resort and a library. For those less interested in golf, Puttery Pittsburgh has many bars and lounge areas. All players must be age 21 or older to get in the door.
Pennsylvania State Representative Christopher Rabb has proposed a bill that will award Pennsylvania K-12 schools that discontinue the use of Native American-themed mascots. A publication by the National Congress of American Indians released last March stated that 45 districts with 113 K-12 schools in Pennsylvania still utilize Native American mascots as the image of their school. This includes mascots such as Indians, Braves, Chiefs, etc. With this news, RAB stated, for far too long, Indigenous peoples have faced discrimination, disrespect, and violence. And through this proposed bill, RAB hopes to encourage against using offensive stereotypes and images as school mascots. The proposed legislation aims to pay for the cost of removing, redesigning, or renovating school equipment that displays the old Native American mascots, and for purchasing and designing new school equipment with different mascots. The sun has been shining over Pittsburgh the past few days. Should we expect more clear skies? Weather reporter Cade Montgomery will have this week's forecast after the break.
Last week, Brandon met a girl on a dating app. One day after work, he finally found the courage to ask her out. No answer. He started to panic. Was he being too pushy? Maybe it was too
Hey, sorry I didn't respond. I was driving. I would love to go on a date. How does tonight sound?
Brandon tried to play it cool, but inside he knew. A girl so smart, so responsible. She must be a keeper.
Welcome back, everyone. This cat has gotten so big, it is now 4.27 feet long, which is the average height of a 9-year-old. Yes, you heard that correctly. This cat is the size of a 9-year-old. This giant yet gentle Maine Coon is often mistaken for a dog, according to the Good News Network. Owner Natalie Bowman adopted Finn in 2017 when he was just a kitten. Now, Finn gets fed 3 to 4 times a day, costing Bowman about $150 per month. Bowman often walks Finn through their neighborhood on a leash where he has become a local celebrity. She told the Good News Network, quote, "It's really funny, they think he's a dog, and then when they get closer, they say, oh my God, it's a cat, and they just love him," end quote. Bowman shared that when she was with visitors, they often get spooked by the large cat. Many have called him a bobcat or a wildcat. Despite his size, Finn is a gentle giant and gets along well with his fellow cat siblings. Bowman described Finn as curious, funny, and affectionate. Finn loves to cuddle and spoon. If you've been outside this week, you might just think it's spring. Luckily, we have NewsNight's Cade Montgomery to tell us if the high temps are here to stay. So what do you have for us, Cade?
Thanks, Brendan. Unfortunately, after all that sun, tomorrow we will be met with all-day rain showers. Starting around 8 a.m. on Thursday, the rain will begin to fall. We may see some dry spots throughout the day, but don't expect the sun to peek out. The temperature will also get progressively warmer throughout the day, with the morning low in the mid-40s and a high temperature of 63 by the time the evening rolls around. There will also be a high chance of thunderstorms around 6. As we move into our weekly forecast, things are looking a little drier. After that wet spot, Friday through Monday will be rain-free. Don't be surprised if you see some sun on the weekend. Saturday we will get mostly sunny weather, with some clouds moving in by the time Sunday rolls around. Once the week begins, it'll be rain all over again, with showers expected Monday through Wednesday. The temperature is going to be pretty stubborn this week, with highs sticking to the 40s and low 50s on most days. Friday, though, will be our standout day with a low of 23 degrees. So if you don't already have an umbrella, it'll be a good idea to pick one up this weekend. I've been Cade Montgomery with this week's weather. Now let's send it back to the desk.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this live episode of NewsNight. If you want to see more, check out our social media pages on both Facebook and Instagram at UView Television.
And while you're here, feel free to check out the rest of our shows on our YouTube channel. I'm Colleen Winder.
And I'm Brendan McNamara. From everyone here at NewsNight, thank you for watching and have a great evening.